Started. The first thing I want to do is talk to you about when you're doing your eyes, what's really important, not just doing your eyes, is really doing your eyebrows. And if you're not doing your eyebrows, whether you have, like you feel like I don't have any eyebrows at all, or they're so light, what I want to show you really quick is a fun, quick, easy way to at least get a little color and a little shape in your eyebrows before you do your eyes, and that is even with your cream contour. So now if your current cream contour that you use maybe isn't the right shade, or you feel like it's too warm or too cool or too light, you know, you can always get a different contour shade. But this is just the line brush, and I'm not even going to use any brow wax. I'm just going to come in and I'm just going to fill in, just tapping in with my brush. Let's see if I can get a little color up here, especially where they're kind of patchy, you know, I've got little bit of patchiness where I've got some hair growing and some not. But let me just show you just how easy it is. Just tap in with this brush into the contour and just kind of just line them, fill them in, however you prefer to do your brows. I'm not going to tell you how to do your brows because I think everybody has different brow shapes and different ways that they want to do them. But let me show you that what a difference just adding a little bit of color. I like this brush too because it's got that spoolie so you can kind of tame them. So doesn't that make a difference? Just a little bit of color in the brows. That's going to frame your eyes. And right away, it's also going to give you an eye lift. Do your brows. That's my first tip. All right, my second tip is to prep your eyelids. One, if you have oily combination skin, make sure you're washing your eyelids in the morning before you do makeup. If you have even normal or dry skin, you'd be surprised. You may actually have oily eyelids and not even know it. So make sure that you're gently cleaning your eyelids, not just washing your face, but you actually clean your eyelids in the morning. I know we do it at night when we remove our makeup and things, but make sure we're doing it in the morning. So that's another tip I have to share with you. And then the third one, before we even get started, is to prime your eyelids. So you can use an eyeshadow primer. There's so many different brands out there, different types. A lot of times I just use a bit of my cream highlights, whether it be, usually it's my warmer one that I use to color correct with, and I'll just tap that on and then use a little bit of translucent setting powder over the top just to set them. Just use a little bit of translucent setting powder even just to dust over if you have cream on your lids. Okay, so now let's talk about the colors we're going to use in this eyeshadow look today. So this is a really fun combination. It's kind of a warm combination. These we're using this shade here. It's called Tangerine. Isn't that pretty? It's a really pretty orange shade. Let's see if I can get it. And it's a matte. Let's see if you can see it with all my freckles. You see that there? Isn't that pretty? And then we're going to use the color here called Philly, which I like because it's a really pretty matte brown shade, but it's got a little bit, I think, of kind of a reddish orange undertone. And then this color is a shimmer, and it's called Moscow. And it is really pretty too. Isn't that pretty? It's almost like a kind of a pinkish rust. All right, we're going to grab a Post-it note, and we are going to do 2 different ways to apply eyeshadow to avoid pulling your eye down. And we are going to grab a little Post-it note, and we're going to just put it right between the bottom of your eye. Be careful you don't poke your eye to the bottom of your brow. That's why it's important to do your brows too, so you can actually see where you need to place this. So why are we doing this? Well, a lot of times when we apply our eyeshadow, or you watch other gals apply eyeshadow, they're doing this windshield wiper move. And when they do that, a lot of times you get a little overzealous with the windshield wiping and you kind of pull your color way down. Okay, so we want to keep our eyeshadow for a more lifted look, especially if we have hooded eyes like I do over on this eye. We want to keep that from the outer point of the eyelashes, outer point of your eye, to the end of your brow. Right? So right in here, so we keep everything lifted. So a lot of times it's hard for us to see that, or we go over that edge. So we're going to use a Post-it note. All right. So this is one way we're going to do it. So just with your hand, just hold it up there. And the first color, I'm going to pick up my eyeshadow brush, the fluffy end. And the first color we're going to dip into, because I can't hold all of it at once, but I'm going to be dipping into the Tangerine, the orange. And I'm taking that brush and I tapped into it, but then I want to tap off. Okay. All right, and we're gonna come from the outside, and you can even start out here on the Post-it note, okay? And we're gonna pull that across, up in the crease, across to the center, over to the inside. And then we're going to pull back this way from the inside without really even adding any more, because we want it to be a little bit lighter here towards the center, inner part of our eye. Okay, they're very pigmented. So if you need more, you can tap back in. Let me show you how to do that. So just lightly tap in and then tap off that excess. And you can build this up a bit. And if you leave your eye open, you can see where you're getting it. Okay, just pull that over, and then I'm come from the inside out. All right, so we can still do this windshield wiper movement if we want to now, because we're not dragging it down because we've got that Post-it note to help us. So you can do the little swirly or the windshield wiper to get that to just really prettily blend like that. Now, another way you can do this, I'm going to leave this up here, see if it'll stay, is to take a light highlight color, maybe that's your brightest, your highlight pop. Grab a smaller brush that has a nice fine point. This one here is the Multitasker. We've been using this a lot in a lot of our lives here. And this flat end or the smaller end, and then pick up a little bit of the cream. I'm going to use the smaller end here. And same thing. Remember, we're now, instead of putting a Post-it note, because sometimes that might be a little tricky, we're just going to draw a line from the bottom of our lash to the bottom of our brow right here. Okay, so start here, just very carefully so that you don't drag upon your eyes. And this is probably the hardest part, is just drawing drawing a line. Okay, can you see it there? If you have to hold your eye taut, you can, but basically we're just kind of going from here up to there, okay? So now instead of having the Post-it note here, I have this as my guideline, okay? So on this side, I'll take my eyeshadow brush, same thing, lightly tap in, tap off that excess so you don't get the fallout. And by the way, I do have mascara on already. And I know I've talked about this a ton, but if you're new and you haven't, and you're like, why does she have her mascara on? No, I know you wouldn't say it that way. Why does she have mascara on? A lot of people are like, why do you have your mascara on already? There, that sounded better. I would probably be like, why does that lady have her mascara on? Well, it's because, one, I like to put my mascara on first because it dries really well, and I always make a mess with my mascara, like all over my lids, on top of my, over here on my hooded eye, underneath. And if I do my mascara first, then I can clean it up without messing up my eyeshadow. So, and that's why I do it. So we're over here, we're staying within this line. Now, you have to be a little bit careful this time because you can't really windshield wiper still outside of that line. You just need to use that as your guideline, okay? And we're pulling it, and then we're going to pull this way again. We're pulling that way, and then you can do little circular motions. Sometimes I think you have more control if you blend with circular motions instead of doing the windshield wiper. You can make sure that you stay within that area, okay? So what do you think? So we've got the base color over here, and it looks like I need to do just a little bit more right here. Okay, so that looks about the same on each side. Okay, now we're going to use this color here called Philly, this darker brown, and I think we'll just stick with this brush. This is such a great brush. We could switch over to the smudge brush, but let's keep this really easy here. And we are going to use, the little smaller end that looks like a little pencil, and we're going to tap in to Philly, which is another matte shade. And that shade is going to go in the outer corner and the outer crease. So I like it to kind of be in this outer V and also down along my lashes. So I'm going to first kind of bring it down along my lashes, almost like, tap in again if you need more, almost like a little bit of an eyeliner, soft eyeliner down here. And then I'm going to bring it up in that outer V. So we're kind of creating this little outer V shape. You see that there? Okay. Flip your brush over, and you can see how that does have a little bit of that, little bit of a red undertone. So I think it works really pretty with this tangerine and the Moscow color that we're going to be using. So we're just defining the outer edge of our eye there. Okay. Now on this side, I kind of already marked a little bit off of my guideline, but that's okay. We can see it. There it is. We'll do the same thing, but we got to be a little bit more careful. We're going to tap in, tap off the excess. Again, I'm going to gently hold my eye and I'm going to come down along my lashes just a bit in the corner and then up above the brow, just defining this outer V, adding some definition to the outer eye, okay? You can also use this to go underneath, to smudge out underneath your eyes. If you want to do a little soft, smudgy eye liner underneath, you can do that as well. You see that there? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and flip back over to that side of the brush again and just do that little bit of circular blending. And since we're kind of doing these eyes a little bit differently, we want to make sure, and if your eyes are different like mine are, you know, like one is more hooded, one is a little bit more open, then just double check, stand back and see, you know, do I need a little bit more color somewhere? I think I do right here in my lid. So I'm going to tap just a little bit of that Tangerine, just press just a little bit, kind of right here, making sure that my eyes are matching pretty well. Okay. All right, now I'm going to pull this off. You see how lifted it still is. I don't have shadow coming down. It gives my eye a lift. And then over here where you have your the little bit of the brightener, just take and just kind of tap and clean up any excess over here. So that gives you a much kind of more lifted eyeshadow look. You're not getting your eyeshadow all the way down here. And so you can either use that a Post-it note, or you can do a guideline, or as you practice more and more, you can just visually tell yourself, don't pull my shadow down past the outer side of my eyebrow. Okay. You can touch up a little bit here. So now let's grab a little bit of that shimmer shade called Moscow, and we're just going to put that right in the center of our eye. And you can do that by pressing it with your finger, like your ring finger, but you can also use the Multitasker Brush for pressing. So tap into that gorgeous shimmer, and then right in the center, tap off, right in the center, press right in the center of your eyeball. Just kind of do a little patty pressy, especially if you have much more textured eyelids. Just do a little bit of this press instead of pulling on them so much. Do a little bit more of a pressing action. Tap in again if you need a little bit more. And if you keep, this is a nice darker shimmer, so it's not going to accentuate texture, you know, our eyelids. If they have texture and things like that, it's not. It's going to stay nice. But another way you can do it, if you wanted to, is take a little bit with your finger, and you can, if you don't have as textured eyes, you can gently kind of just tap it right in the center there. So we're trying to keep the shimmer close to the bottom of the lid, close to the center of the eyes. And then the last thing I want to do is probably go back in, clean my brush off. This is the brush cleaning tile. Just swirl that around. Now the brush cleaning tile is not for your cream brushes. It's for eyeshadows. And it also works good for demi, to remove excess pigment and product off of a brush, so that when you switch colors, especially eyeshadows and things like that, you're not muddling. And now I'm just going to do one final blend, keeping everything within. Don't go outside, doing little circular motions. Make sure that things look a little blended. Thanks for watching, and if you're interested in these eyeshadow shades, I'll list them below in the caption.